If you knew how to solve your problem, you would have already done it. The subconscious mind is a really fickle thing. It doesn't want help, but it wants help. It's like a child who is having a tantrum. The mind is kind of like that. It doesn't matter if what you're asking it to do is in its best interest. If it feels like it wants to do something else or it has a reason to do something else, it's not going to do what anybody else tells it to do.
You're listening to the What the Gut podcast, where busy moms can come for a holistic approach to health and vitality. I'm Allison, your host, a holistic health and wellness coach. In this space, we'll dive into the intricacies of achieving holistic wellness while balancing the demands of daily life as a busy mom. What the Gut is your haven for navigating the challenges that come with juggling numerous tasks while aiming for a healthier, more balanced life. Join me as we uncover practical solutions to common health hurdles, from managing fatigue to understanding all things gut health. Through insightful discussions, actionable insights, and tailored lifestyle strategies, my goal here is to empower you to embrace a vibrant, nourishing life while saying goodbye to being overwhelmed and exhausted. So if you're ready to embark on this transformative journey towards holistic well-being, hit that subscribe button. Get ready to discover the secrets to thriving in motherhood while nurturing your overall wellness. A quick reminder, everything discussed here is for educational and empowering purposes only and is not intended for personalized medical advice. Consult your personal healthcare provider for personalized medical advice. Welcome to What the Gut, where we create our own path to holistic health, one episode at a time. Today on the podcast, I have Regina Roberti, and she's a homeschool mom of two boys, a holistic health coach, and a licensed trainer of advanced conversational hypnosis. She trains professionals in the wellness field how to go from the hectic expert to the lazy expert to achieve faster client results, get epic breakthroughs, and get rid of time wasting preparation and charge more for multiple outcomes. Hey, Regina, I'm so happy to have you here on the podcast today. How are you?
I'm good, Allison. Thanks for having me today.
Yes. Regina, I know that you help clients rapidly dissolve issues like insomnia, but I would love for you to tell me a little bit more in your own words what that means.
So, advanced conversational hypnosis is not your traditional hypnotic method. There's no inductions, regressions, nothing that is forced on the client. But basically, the easiest way to explain what ACH is and how it works is when the client comes in with a problem. And me being a sleep specialist, I primarily work with people who are struggling to fall asleep or stay asleep. So, what we do is we ask questions to get to the underlying reason why they're not sleeping. Because what we believe in ACH is that the problem is a symptom of something deeper that's going on. And we don't believe that it can be cleared unless you understand where it came from. So it's such a hard process to explain because when I teach ACH in my master classes, we go over the principles of what ACH is and how to work it. But the rest of the time that we're in the masterclass, the next 5.5 hours, we're doing demonstrations to show what unconscious moments are, which are basically like the breadcrumbs that lead us to the root cause or core belief of why the client has a problem. And when we can get there, what we end up uncovering is a much deeper issue that not only creates the symptom of the sleep problem, but it also affects many other areas of somebody's life. And so when we are able to get the client to that deeper understanding and change their perception of the issue, and we make it so it's not as serious, or we allow them to see that it's no longer useful for their current experience, they're able to create their own shift in their mindset. When you skip a rock in the water, it has that ripple effect. We're kind of the rock, and then they have this ripple effect of changes that occur in their life where anything related to that core belief is now shifted as well. You can get a really good imagery of what that is. And you see when you skip the rock, there's all these different ripples. Those are all those problems that are related to that original belief. It's a really interesting modality. And it's like I said, it's really difficult to explain. You have to experience it in the session or in the master class. We tell them you can't be taught it, you have to catch it. And so the mind is a
Yeah.
complicated thing. And so the modality can seem very complicated, but it's very simple once you learn it, how to create a better dialogue and communication with your client to understand where the problem really is.
Yeah. I hear you saying that you can get so many different positive outcomes beyond just the initial symptom, like not being able to sleep well or whatever. But I know that advanced conversational hypnosis, it does not use trance states, but it uses conversational dialogue. I know you said the process is difficult to explain, but how does it differ from traditional hypnosis?
If somebody were to ask like me what the technique is, I couldn't tell you. It's not a technique. And so, like I said earlier, in traditional hypnosis, there's this whole strategy that you take with each client. You have a structure, you have to induct them into a deeper, like meditative state or relaxation state. You do suggestive techniques, you use language patterns, scripts. There's a lot of things that go into a traditional hypnosis session. But with ACH, the intention is we don't do any of those things. If those things happen spontaneously, then great, but we're not focused on the trance. The trance will come naturally through the questioning process. And if you are asking the questions that are based on what comes up with the client, they're going to lead you exactly where you want to go. The subconscious mind is a really fickle thing. It doesn't want help, but it wants help. It's like a child who is having a tantrum. Like, if you've ever talked to your 2-year old and you're like, listen, kid, like, I want you to eat your breakfast. And they go, no. Well, you have to eat your breakfast. Your breakfast is an important part of your day. If you don't eat, you're going to be hungry later and we might not have food when you're hungry. No, I'm not hungry now. The mind is kind of like that. It doesn't matter if what you're asking it to do is in its best interest. If it feels like it wants to do something else or it has a reason to do something else, it's not going to do what anybody else tells it to do. That's one of the major principles in ACH is we allow the client to lead versus in a regular traditional hypnosis session, we lead. And how are we supposed to know where our client needs to go to get the results? The client has been the one who's created the problem since the beginning. They found the resource in the beginning. Maybe it suited them then, but that resource is now a program that doesn't suit them now. And so it's what creates cyclical behaviors and drama in people's lives, causes chaos because consciously as an adult, know that this doesn't work anymore. We want to change. But unconsciously, that program is like a toddler refusing anything that would be good to it. Have you ever had that conversation with your kid where they think it's their idea that they need to
Yes.
do? Well, that's kind of how ACH works. We allow them to think that they are creating the shifts and the changes. Our questions is what really helps them change their perspective. But they're ultimately the ones that are going to choose whether or not to use whatever resources come up in the session and if it's going to benefit them in a positive way.
I can relate to that, having a 3-year-old. And as a young child, my parents always used to say that I had pendulumitis because I was like a pendulum. It's like, I wanted this, then I wanted this. No, I wanted this. And I can now understand what they were always saying because of my own children. You can feel yourself as an adult try to get back to that state sometimes when you're in an argument with people. So I think, yeah, it is there subconsciously. So that helps me understand it more. Let me ask you, whenever you have a new client come to you, what do you find some of the misconceptions being that they have about what to expect?
I think the hypnotic experience, like the trance experience, is something that really interests people in kind of a scary way. Like there's this fear around it. Like, is somebody going to take over my brain? Are they going to like
Ah,
control me? And so that's been since the beginning of time when it comes to hypnosis, because a lot of the previous techniques that became famous were always stage hypnosis on TV. But in ACH, we understand that people go in and out of consciousness all day long, every day, for whatever reason. They can go into a meditative state just by trying to retrieve a memory. And so people come in thinking that we're going to make them give them all their money or that they're not going to remember what's in the session. You're going to remember everything because this is the conversation. You and I are just talking, just
Because it's
like, it-
a conversational dialogue, not putting you
yeah,
in abuse purposely. Yeah.
nervously. And so not everybody goes into a deep state of trance. Not everybody goes like this. A trance state is like you ask them a question and they go like this. And that's them going into unconsciousness. They're going into their mind as deep as they can go to retrieve information that is beneficial to answer that question. So their best way of explaining the answer. Because the thing that we understand in dealing with traditional problems is that if you knew how to solve your problem, you would have already done it.
Exactly.
You cannot connect conscious to unconscious reasoning. Your conscious mind wants to solve the problem, but your unconscious mind wants you as far away as possible from solving it because it serves some purpose.
You're comfortable in the uncomfortable because that's all you've known.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very much a habit of behavior.
Yes. What are some other reasons why you might see a client? Is it specifically just with sleep issues, or do you see people who their primary concern when they come to you might be something different?
Personally, my niche is sleep, but everybody who practices ACH, which there's not a lot compared to 8 billion people in the world, there's only a very, very, very small quantity of us. There's probably around 1,500 to 2,000 people who practice this specific modality. So there's certain practitioners that can only practice certain things depending on where they are. I can work with very generic issues here in Florida.
And that's just because of your state law
Yeah,
and the
state law.
restrictions. Yeah.
Yeah, the restrictions. So even though I have limitations, I can work with generic issues. So a fear of spiders or procrastination or motivation issues. I can work with things like weight loss or smoking, like a habit that somebody doesn't want to have, not necessarily addiction to the point of like alcoholism or drug abuse, but something like smoking is not as serious as addiction because you need a support system where if they go through a detox process or a withdrawal or something like that, that they're supported in a very specific way.
Right. So I imagine that you play a big role as far as being one part of their treatment team. And while they may be having sleep issues, they still are seeing their other provider and using your treatment modality as another tool in their toolbox.
I think people are looking for quick fixes to their issues. Fortunately, ACH provides that. But we also need to vet our clients and make sure, like, are you on medications? Don't go off medications without talking to your doctor first. Like, that's stuff we don't deal with. And
Right.
if we feel like we can't work with that person, we refer out. We make sure that we're being responsible practitioners. And I am a certified holistic health coach. And so I can work with people on different goals that they want to get around exercise, eating healthier, stress relief, lifestyle changes, things like that. So ACH is brilliant in helping my clients get those results a lot faster. And so if my client has roadblocks to getting the results that they want, because ultimately I utilize their intrinsic ability to make the right choices for themselves. And in doing that, they tend to have a higher success rate in reaching their goals. But if there's one of those programs that is really just set in place and it's something that they're struggling getting past, ACH can help them move past that in just 1 to 2 sessions.
Yeah, that's interesting. Why does it work so fast?
The reason why we see success so fast is because it's ultimately the client's choice how they want to get rid of the problem. Towards the end of the session, when we cleared a lot of the layers that kind of cover up the root cause or poor belief, we kind of clear those issues and get them out of the way. So those are like mini sessions within one big session. So that's part of the reason why the results are so profound. But at the end of the session, we do a really great testing technique to make sure that the client is certain that the problem is gone and that they have access now to better or newer resources that they didn't actually believe were available to them before. And we call it trying on suits. So once we take that old suit off, that resource that doesn't really do anything for them anymore and just causes lots of problems, now, through the processing after the session, they are able to go try on new suits that, okay, this one doesn't fit. This one's ugly. This one doesn't work good. And these are just different resources that they're able to access. And they'll keep trying on new suits throughout the whole processing aspect of post session until they find one that actually makes their life a lot better. So, some people, it's like immediate within a few days. With my sleep clients, it's like overnight. But it could take 2 weeks, it could take 3 weeks, it could take 4 weeks. It depends on the client and how that new resource will benefit. So like I said earlier, it's not about me saying, "Oh, you're having trouble sleeping. Why don't you go do research on sleep hygiene and make sure you're not turning on your cell phone at night. You have no TVs in your room, that you have blackout tinted windows." Like, they've tried all those things before. Me suggesting that is going to create a rejection there, like the toddler situation. Like, I've already done that. It doesn't work. So by me not telling them what to do, they're able to find their own solutions like a little kid would and make those the things that impact their lives in a better way. So I've experienced this personally where I had all these negative beliefs around my childhood trauma and the relationships that I had. So I was struggling personally with being a parent, with growing a business. I wanted everything handed to me on a silver platter. I didn't want to do the work that it took. It was too time consuming. It bothered me that I had to put in such effort. I literally was acting like a child, but that was the resource that I had taken on as a kid based on my environment. My mom took care of me plus 8 brothers and sisters our entire lives. We did very little around the house. She did everything, which was really interesting to have somebody be that person. She was a stay-at-home mom up until I think I was in, like, 8th or ninth grade. And with 9 kids, she would kick us out of the house. "Get out, get away. I'm gonna take care of everything." And that was it. I wasn't taught business sense. I wasn't taught how to try hard. I wasn't taught, you know what I mean? Like, all the little things that you need to grow as a person. Those were things that were missing in my childhood. There was no stability, no structure, no business sense? And
Yeah.
so for me, trying to create a business from that particular place was really difficult because I was acting like a baby. Like, I didn't want to do anything that it really took to build my practice. I made all the excuses in the world. And so I needed to go find a better resource as an adult.
So when you found this resource, whenever you found ACH, was that your first introduction to it?
So I've been a massage therapist for 14 years. And more recently, I'm trying to just stick with the coaching realm and phase that out. So, being in the massage industry, working on people, I saw that there was this big correlation between the mind and the physiological stuff that was happening in my clients.
Yeah.
And so every week or every 2 weeks, I would see them over and over and over. It would be feeling amazing, but then they come back with the same problems. And I kept thinking to myself, this has to go deeper than just like the superficial muscle. Like, it's not just muscle, it's not just the systems of the body. And so that was my first introduction to where I had this firm belief that the mind was doing more for the pain than the relief,
That's a very interesting perspective, I
right?
think. Just as someone who does enjoy a good massage, I just think about that and the tension that I carry in my body sometimes. Like lately, I've had a lot of tension in my shoulders, and I'm like, okay, I know that this is coming from something deeper. Maybe I pulled a muscle, but
Yeah.
so
No, and that's
it's,
normal. That's the conscious mind trying to solve the problem. The conscious mind has no clue what's going on. So, COVID came around. I had already started looking into a coaching program. I was dealing with postpartum depression for like 4 years. I was a really bad hot mess and I couldn't keep weight on. I was 135 pounds when I got pregnant with my first kid. I was 117 pounds pregnant with my second kid. And after I had him, I went down to 114 pounds. I haven't been that weight since 11th grade and I'm 41. That was 10 years ago. I don't know what was going on, but I looked really drawn. You could see my skin was terrible. I was stressed out constantly. And I was dealing with postpartum and for a very short period of time, postpartum psychosis. When I found nutraceuticals by chance, those herbal blends within a week changed my whole mind. Like I came out of the biggest funk that I had been in for a long time and I felt amazing. It was changing everything. My energy was back, my brain fog, everything was starting to be really good. So then I got introduced to a self sabotage coach. So I signed up for that. And I was like, I wonder what this is. Obviously, I've been sabotaging myself. So I was taking the stuff that I knew from massage and I was trying to figure out what direction to go. And the self sabotage coaching was giving me this window into how the mind worked and why we do the things that we do to sabotage ourselves. Then COVID happened. My massage practice went from 100% to 3%. And I was like, okay, how am I going to create a business when I can't touch people? So we were using hypnosis as like the finishing touch to solidify results with the coaching clients. And I found RTT. I got certified in that through COVID. And then I just realized that it was too time consuming as far as being a stay at home mom with homeschool kids. And I needed something that could fast track results, but also like the results would stick because I wasn't seeing that with what I was doing. And I gave somebody an RTT session around a spiritual aspect of their life versus like a physical problem. It was more like psychic abilities or past life regression or something. And she wanted to repay the experience with this new modality that she was using. She gave me an ACH session and I was mind blown, but I didn't get into ACH immediately. It took me probably a year before I was like, oh, this is exactly what I've been talking about. Like, I need something quicker, but I didn't, you know, I didn't put
Yeah.
two and two together. And I did so many personal sessions in RTT, but I wasn't getting results because we were treating symptoms.
And RTT stands for Rapid Transformational Therapy. And it's a therapy that's based on neuroscience that gives fast, effective results that combines different principles of psychotherapy and hypnotherapy. For my listeners that aren't familiar with RTT, can you just give me a brief overview of what that is for them?
So when I say like traditional modality, using the inductions, the suggestions, the regressions, and then there were all these other tools that we use to shift perspectives. But there are a ton of RTT people out there getting results. But for me, it wasn't hitting the mark with results. Results were very limited. And I had a client who did the whole session. It was a beautiful session. It was the clarity that this woman got was amazing. I made her this gorgeous script and recording so that she can listen to it to solidify those new results, those new resources that we found in the session. After 3 months of listening to it, she stopped listening to it, and then she checked in with me and she was like, "Listen, I started to kind of feel myself going sideways again, so I just started listening to the recording." I'm like, "But you're not gonna listen to that recording the rest of your life. How annoying is my voice?" So, that's gotta be annoying, to listen to my voice for, like, 6 months, and every time you need a boost, you have to listen to my voice. I was very insecure at the time. I was like, "I hate recording myself." So I was like, there has to be something different. There has to be something easier. And ACH is just not about any of that stuff. And, if you came to me and was like, I have not been sleeping, I say, okay, what's the problem? And that's how we start every session. Tell me about the problem. Tell me why you think you have the problem. And when they give me information, I ask the next question because it's this dance that we do until I go, "Oh, there's the problem right there," and guide them to it. But I can't say, "Oh, that's your problem." I need them to say to me this, and then I give them a question or the next prompt, and they go, "Oh, that's what that is. Now that makes sense." They have that aha. Whereas in RTT, there were a lot of those moments, but it was scenes that we would say go back to a time and place where there was this event. And so we're telling them to go back. What if that scene that they come up with has nothing to do with the problem? Just because it was a memory that reinforced their belief, that doesn't mean that that was the root cause. It just
Exactly.
means that it was a memory.
Yeah. How long does a typical first session with you last? Or does that just vary?
It varies from person to person, and it also varies with how quickly I grab onto the paradox that they're dealing with, because there's always a conscious to unconscious conflict. So if I can make that really translucent to them, they can break through really quick. There are people that are having 20-minute breakthroughs with their clients. My lowest for a sleep session was 46 minutes, but my highest was 2.5 hours. And that really depends on the client and if they're being completely honest with me, because that subconscious mind will
Right.
protect you at all costs. And if there's a trust issue or it feels like you're not going to help it, it's going to resist. And you have to get really good at spotting those moments that tell you exactly where to go.
And if you're holding back at all, you could be there for 40 days and 40 nights.
I was that client. The last 3 sessions that I had 3 sessions ago, I was finally tired of reliving the same shit over and over again. I really didn't want to have another session on it. And ACH has been great with helping me with a lot of little problems, but I was holding back. And finally, I said to her, I was like, listen, I've been lying to you. Like, I'm in trance and I'm telling you, I'm lying to you. I keep telling you what you want to hear because I am so afraid of things being different than what they are. And she's like, well, what are you afraid about? And I said that I'm going to have to show up. I'm going to have to do things that I feel I don't want to do. And so, even though that sounds like so simple, it was so complicated and it made me reject any potential solution to my problem.
It's hard to
And
admit
so
that.
yeah, which is really hard. I cried my eyes out because I finally had to admit that I was acting like a child, having a temper tantrum in my life. How did that change my experience? It changed the way I communicate with everybody around me. It changes the way I'm truthful with myself. So it changes the way that I show up in my life and set goals and structure. And so it's changed so many different things just by admitting. But until you can get your client to that place where they're 1000% honest with you, that means now there's no going back. They have to look at what's been causing them so much strife.
Yeah. That's so interesting. Since I started this podcast, I've been talking to so many different people who I didn't know beforehand and have run into and do so many different treatment modalities that I've never even heard of. It's just so amazing. And most of the people listening probably only know of, "Oh, just go to the doctor and get a pill." And I'm like, "It does not have to be that way." There are so many different things. And, you can tap into your mind and use all these things that God's given you to heal instead of just chemicals.
But those people that go get the pill, they're just like me in a different way. I didn't want to put in the work. I didn't want to dig. I didn't want to clear that issue. And
Yeah,
so for me, it was easier just to stay the same than it was to actually admit where I was being silly.
exactly. I wanted to ask you, I know that you've got a masterclass coming up in June.
Oh, yeah. So about 3 to 4 times a year, I host a course for people in this industry who want to help people clear their issues quickly. With ACH, I help my clients get rapid results. I help them get epic breakthroughs, multiple outcomes. And if you're a practitioner, I help you charge more for those multiple outcomes because you're having all those mini sessions within the session. So you're not going to see your client 10 times for 10 different subjects. You're going to have them come in and hit that one issue and see how that ripples out and affects them in multiple ways. So what I do is I teach professionals in the mental health and wellness industry or the self-help industry learn this technique so that they can revolutionize their practice in the way that they communicate with their clients and help them get results.
Yeah, that's awesome.
If you learn this way of communication with people, it changes everything. But if you want to practice it, you got to learn how to do it do it really well. And it's not like you'll just show up to the master class and then you'll be amazing at it. You got to practice. And so not only do I offer the master class, but you become a student in my program. So you get to be around other colleagues who are looking to practice. They get access to previously recorded masterclass. They get access to all the resources. It's just a really great program. It's a one-time buy-in. So if your listeners are interested and they set up a strategy call for me for the class, I will give them a discount off the top. I'm excited to teach it. I've taught it once and it was such an awesome experience.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Regina, I'm glad you came on the podcast today. Is there anything else that you want to leave our listeners with?
Everybody's on their own timeline of healing. So when you're ready, you'll find the right person that is going to help you. But if you really break about fixing your issues, ACH is one of those modalities that you can find one of the practitioners or you can work with me to help you clear those blocks quickly. I think in a world today where everything is like instant gratification, ACH is one of those things that can actually
Give you that in a more
give
natural
you,
way.
yeah, and more and more.
Yeah.
It's not just a one issue write off. It's like everything changes. So that's why my company is called Transformation Solutions because you really do get the life transformation.
Yeah. That's awesome. This is an awesome episode, Regina. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being a part of my journey on What the Gut podcast. For a deeper dive into today's topics, head over to AllisonandWellness.com/whatthegut or find the detailed show notes linked below. Hey, and don't miss out on future episodes. Hit that subscribe button, and if you love this one, please leave me a review. Let's keep the conversation going over on Instagram. Connect with me and stay updated and engaged with my awesome community. Plus, share these valuable insights with your tribe. They deserve to feel as amazing as you do. You can find me at Allison_and_wellness on Instagram. Your support means the world to me. I'm looking forward to our next awesome chat. But until then, stay curious, don't drink too much coffee, keep the vibrant energy flowing, and take care of your gut. Catch you real soon. Oh, and hey, if you're ready to dive deeper into personalized wellness, check out my one-on-one health coaching program at AllisonandWellness.com. Let's make your journey to holistic health truly transformative.